What to do about over-dribbling and other underlying basketball problems. I'm Tony. Welcome back to Streetball Strategies.
Wanna be down, wanna dash, wanna go fast, wanna be brave, wanna move like an assassin. Just to be frank, it's not for the faint of heart. And the only question left is, where do we start?
So I'm bringing up this topic because it's playoff time, playoff season. It's April of 2022 and the Brooklyn Nets and Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving just got swept by the Boston Celtics. And in that series, the pressure clearly got to Kevin Durant. And one of the most obvious signs of the fact that he was kind of crumbling under that pressure was the fact that he was consistently over-dribbling. Now, while this video isn't only about specifically over-dribbling, it's more about the underlying problems that lead to symptoms such as over-dribbling. Today, I thought we would address how to handle and address those problems so that they don't get in the way of how you perform out here on the court. And we're gonna address these problems from a few angles. So we're gonna deal with them off the court first, how to deal with resolving them off the court so they don't become an on the court problem. And then we'll talk about how to deal with them in game on the court, like on the fly, so you can actually address it during a game. We'll also talk about how to deal with those problems if you're a teammate of someone who's having those kind of underlying basketball problems, or if you're the one having the problems. Also, what to do if you're an opponent of someone who's having those problems and how you should address those problems on or off the court. So let's start with off the court, because the goal of dealing with these kind of problems off the court is that you handle them, address them, resolve them permanently so that they don't ever come back or exist again on the court for you. Now, I talk a lot about emotion on this channel. It's a consistent theme throughout many videos on this channel because it addresses what I refer to as the behavioral pathway. When you understand that pathway, you understand how and why every human does what they do, why they act the way they act, why they behave the way they behave, which of course includes basketball players, why they do what they do. That pathway is emotion, thought, action in that specific order. And in the case of something like over-dribbling, which is a negative basketball behavior, that usually means the root of that pathway comes from something negative. So what happens is some kind of external situation or event takes place, which then causes you to have some kind of negative emotion. From that negative emotion then comes negative thoughts. From those negative thoughts comes negative actions and or behaviors. Now you may say to yourself, what does it matter? I don't really need to understand the entire pathway. All I need to know really is what's happening. What's the behavior taking place? If I see and recognize that over-dribbling is taking place, that's all I need to know, because then I can address it. And while yes, that is true, that is also the casual basketball player way of looking at things. That may address and take care of the problem for the moment, but it's very likely that that problem is going to persist if you don't take actions to thoroughly resolve it. So if all you see is the over-dribbling and then you address it, but you don't take the time and the effort to understand what's the thought going behind the over-dribbling, and then what's the emotion going behind the thought that led to the over-dribbling. The more thoroughly you understand how and why, the more thoroughly, the more efficiently and effectively you can work at resolving those problems. And obviously doing so is going to take a long time. It's going to be time consuming. You're going to have to talk to, your teammate if they're the one experiencing the problem, and understand what's going on. What's the thoughts? What's the emotion? What happened to cause the problem? And you're not going to be able to do that like inside of like a timeout, or even maybe in between games out here at the park. It's probably going to take more time than that, and thus you're going to have to address it off the court. Same thing if you're the one experiencing the problems. You're going to have to take time out, understand what happened, what caused you to have the negative emotions that led to the negative thoughts that led to you over-dribbling. What were the negative thoughts? What were the negative emotions? All that's needed is for you to be aware, to understand, okay, this is the event that took place that made me have this negative emotion. This is the negative emotion I was having that led me to have this and these negative thoughts. These are the thoughts I were having, and because I had those thoughts, I then had, the over-dribbling problem or whatever underlying basketball problem that then resulted. As long as you are aware of what happened, now you can work to avoid allowing that to happen again in the future, thus solving that problem and stopping it from happening ever again. If you're an opponent of someone who's having those problems, and that means your job now is to exploit those problems, make them worse, make it harder for them, right? And you don't want to be, it's not anything personal, obviously. You're just trying to be the best opponent and competitor you can. And so when they're having those problems, the better, as an opponent, the better you understand, the more thoroughly you understand how and why, the better you understand that behavioral pathway that, what's going on with them. Now you can use that against them. You can exploit that against them. You can take advantage of them more thoroughly, the better you understand what's going on. But when we're talking about addressing those problems on the court during a game, now that's when we get into the territory of seeing the problem, recognizing it, and then having to address it on the fly without going into the background of that behavioral pathway. So let's talk about, firstly, if you're an opponent and you're on the court, you're in game, and you see someone on the other team over-dribbling, right? Let's say you're guarding the ball, so the person you're guarding is dribbling too much. What should you do? Well, obviously, first of all, you have to recognize the problem of over-dribbling. Second of all, you have to understand what it means. In general, it means that that player is uncomfortable. And because you're in the middle of a game, you don't have to understand how or why the problem's taking place. All you have to do is recognize that it's happening so that you can then attack it. Your job then becomes to make it worse, make them more uncomfortable, turn up the pressure. So if you're guarding someone who's over-dribbling, what you have to then do is put more pressure on them, put more pressure on the ball, make them more uncomfortable. Do everything and anything that you can within the rules of the game to make it worse on them, to make them more uncomfortable. If you're on defense but you're off the ball and you see that person over-dribbling, what you should then do is get ready and look for your opportunity to then double team that person. It's all about turning up the pressure, increasing the problem that they're clearly and obviously having. Now, if you're an offense and you're a teammate of someone who's having a problem such as over-dribbling, you need to do the opposite, which is to do whatever you can to get them to calm down and relax. Take as much pressure off them as quickly as possible. So that may mean that you have to take the ball out of their hands and send them to do something else on the court that they are more comfortable and confident doing. Or maybe you just need to clear them out altogether and you take over, you run at least that particular play yourself and just clear them out so that they can clear their head, hopefully. But if you're the one who's having the problem, if you're over-dribbling and it's becoming obvious to your opponents and your teammates, and you are aware of that and it's making you feel even worse, again, the goal is to calm down and to relax, slow things down, do whatever you need to do in the moment in order to make that happen. Pass the ball off to someone else and go find another job to do on the court in that play that you're more comfortable at, you have more confidence doing, or maybe you just need to call timeout altogether. Whatever you do, the goal is to calm down, slow down, feel the pressure releasing from you. The best general way I can tell you to do that is just to focus on your breathing. Instead of, focusing on the pressure that's taking place on the court and how you don't want to mess up and how you're trying to do your best to run the play perfectly and all that kind of stuff, just slow down, focus on your breathing instead. Make it nice and slow, nice and deep, And keep in mind that what you're doing is supposed to be enjoyable. You're supposed to be having fun. You're not supposed to be freaking out and panicking because of the pressure you feel. You're supposed to be enjoying yourself. You're out on the court, you're playing ball. You're supposed to have fun and enjoy that process. Don't take things too seriously and just sort of let go of that pressure. It's all about kind of being in the moment, being in the present, and trying to center yourself, center your emotions, center your thoughts. You obviously don't have time to, think to yourself about the behavioral pathway and what's going on. You don't have to. All you need to do is sort of calm yourself down and let yourself be centered in the moment. And that's what I think you should do about over-dribbling and other underlying basketball problems. In the example I gave of Kevin Durant and him crumbling under that first round playoff pressure, I think it would have served him well in between games to sort of address and try to understand that behavioral pathway. But if you're aware of, what's taken place throughout this season and going into these playoffs, Kevin Durant was kind of in a lose-lose situation where most of the scoring and offense fell on his shoulders, and Boston was playing great defense against him. In that case, on the court, I think the best thing he could have done was to remind himself that he's supposed to be having fun. It's supposed to be a good time. Yes, there's a lot of pressure. Yes, there's a lot on the line, but in the end, you're doing this because you enjoy it, because it's supposed to be fun. I think the more you as a player keep that in mind, the less pressure you're going to feel. The less pressure you feel, the less likely you're going to have those underlying basketball problems, such as over-dribbling. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know down in the comments what you think. When you see obvious basketball problems happening out on the court, such as over-dribbling, how do you address it? How do you attack it as an opponent? And if you found this video helpful, if you think it's going to help you as a basketball player out on the court, when you do experience those kinds of problems, then that's great. Please subscribe to the channel. I say this at the end of almost every video because I do want to address it and make sure you guys know that I'm aware that this is a small channel. It's a very obscure basketball channel. We talk about weird, off the rail kind of things on this channel, and the best thing you guys can do to support this kind of a channel, if you do like it, if you find it helpful, is to subscribe. So for everybody who does, for everybody who has, know that I genuinely thank you. And like always, make sure you like, comment, hit that notification bell so that when you hit that bell, you're always notified of every video when it goes live on this channel. And once again, I'll see you guys next week.
Power is everything. The voice inside your head said that you can do anything. You start to feel the power building up in your ears ring. You feel the bravery and courage tugging your heartstrings. It's not over. You can see it. It's right there. It's getting closer. Your energy means enemy